What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 160 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, delivering DoorDash and getting tipped with DoorGash, the wine and dining, 69 and he'll throw an extra butter for a taste of that turd cutter, the phenomenal AJ Singh.
Nasty.
So this episode, we will be giving an in-depth review of Ahsoka, episode 5, but we'll save that for the back half of the show in case anyone hasn't seen it yet. But AJ, you been watching or doing anything else lately?
You know, I forgot to mention earlier, I watched Talk to Me a while back.
Oh, right.
That horror movie. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of frustration on my part for the main character, though, because there's always that main character who does this very, questionable things to move the plot along, and she definitely did those things. So I was very frustrated with the main character. So I was rooting for her death.
So what was the main premise of this horror movie? Because I really honestly don't know anything about it.
So they don't really go into the backstory of this, but there's these teenagers who have this hand that's I guess you would say encased in some sort of material, but it's like a real hand. And they have rumors of it belonged to a psychic who could speak to the dead or whatever, but nobody really knows for sure. And this hand is what they use at parties, and the movie just kind of jumps right into it. They do party tricks, and the person who looks at the hand, holds it, and says, "Talk to me," is possessed by some sort of ghost or dead, some creature.
Okay.
And they start acting just crazy and weird, and they start making videos of it. It's just a fun party trick, apparently. And thing is, you should only do it for a certain amount of time, or else it gets out of hand. So their goal is to do it for 90 seconds, but sometimes it goes over, and that's where the complications arise. So it's an interesting story. I thought it was fun. I mean, as long as you don't try to dig too deep into it,
Well, I think the weird thing of it is it sounds like it. Well, it starts off with these people just have a severed hand, which is weird enough. But then the fact that in this world people pretty much know and accept that supernatural things occur.
Right. Yeah. They don't seem to be freaked out. They don't go to anybody. They're oh, this is cool.
It's not a situation where the people at the party are oh, these people are just putting on an act. They actually.
At first they are. They're
okay.
they're thinking that, but then everybody at the party does it. It's just a small little get together is what they have. So
okay.
Little hangout sessions. So everybody pretty much does it. Some people go twice or whatever. So they say it feels really good and it feels really cool, but it looks disgusting.
So as long as they keep it under 90 seconds, is the person still in control of themselves that they can stop?
Well, if they keep it under 90 seconds and they stop the whole process, then they get back into their body and they're good to go. There's no issues. Okay. But they go over 90 seconds, then you have some lingering effects. And that's where things get weird.
Was this American or Australian, or what was it?
I think it was a combination of American and British, because half the people, even a girl will have a British accent and her father will have an American accent. It was just what? Yeah. But I guess her mom was British, so it was a mixed cast, though.
They all have parents that are half British, or one's British, one's American.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird like that. Yeah. Very mixed neighborhood, I guess, with British and American people.
I wasn't going to resubscribe yet, but I got an email from HBO where they're you can have Max, I guess it is now, for 4 months for half price. So I was okay, I know there's some stuff on there I need to catch up on. So far I've just been catching up on Superman stuff. So season 3 of Superman and Lois.
Okay.
Which, have you watched any of Superman and Lois?
No.
I actually recommend it. I think it's definitely one of the stronger of those CW superhero shows.
Okay.
And even like in the third season, that's still pretty good.
All right.
And actually, I think for a TV budget, it actually has pretty good special effects as well.
Okay.
This season's all about like Lois gets cancer.
Oh boy, that's heavy.
Yeah, so they go a little heavier than you might expect.
Whoa. Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably like halfway through this season, and yeah, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a new Superman animated series called My Adventures with Superman that I've watched maybe like 5 episodes of, but it's fun.
Okay.
I think it's definitely like a cartoon that both like kids and adults can appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
It does have kind of like visually like an anime style,
Okay.
which, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's okay. But at least like the voice acting isn't so like over the top and overacted like in a lot of anime. So it's not like annoying.
You will face the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's always kind of stopped me from getting into anime is like I can't take the overacting. It's so egregious. It's it just gets annoying. But no, I'm actually
I can't stand the pedophilia in anime. They always have those weird like child girl characters, and they're always like lusting after them or something. It's weird.
Oh, is that
man.
true?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched so little anime. I watched Cowboy Bebop, which I thought was pretty decent.
Okay.
And it at least didn't have one of those subplots in it.
Like a 14-year-old anime girl, e-girl.
Man, like I've never watched One Piece and never it's in my thoughts because I haven't watched it, but like I guess Netflix just did like a live action version. That's, but like supposedly that anime has like over 1,000 episodes or something. It's like insane. Like it's been going forever.
Yeah, I heard people talking about getting into it, and like they're like, I saw how many episodes there were, and they're like, oh my god, that is insane.
I can't feature. That's such a barrier to entry. I can't imagine like ever getting into something like that. It's so daunting. 1,000 episodes.
It's daunting, but then like at the same time, it's almost a good thing too. Like if it's a really good show and it's got,
it would have to be
episodes,
really good.
I mean, as long as you're not too concerned about the overall arc of the show and you're just watching from episode to episode, just seeing like what, you know, maybe they have like their own like condensed storylines for each episode, you know, like as long as that's the case, I think it'd be enjoyable and you just never run out of episodes. It's good to go.
But also just knowing about every television show I've ever watched, like even if it started off fantastically, I can't imagine it holding its quality through like 1,000 episodes.
That's almost always the case.
And imagine how many like just like filler episodes have to be in there that focus on nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the only show that I felt like came close to really from end to end doing it right was Breaking Bad, I would say.
Yeah, Breaking Bad, so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they were smart at just doing 5 seasons and being like, peace out.
That seems to be the magic number.
I think so too,
seasons.
right around in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it goes any longer than that, things just start to feel stale.
Right, because Game of Thrones was solid till 7 and 8. You know, season 7 and 8 they got kind of wonky.
I feel like, yeah, I kind of feel like with Game of Thrones, I don't know why, if it was budgetary reasons or what, but they didn't have as many episodes as like that final season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I'm thinking they shouldn't have done that because it did feel like it needed more.
No, you're right. It was HBO was like trying. They were like, "Hey, look, if you need more episodes, if you need more anything, we'll help. We'll give you those things." But Benioff and Weiss were just they had already gotten the deal with Star Wars, I think. So they were like, "Oh, we just want to end this show quickly," you know, and they were like just half-assing it. And they did such a bad job with Game of Thrones that they lost the job for Star Wars.
I don't know if that's 100% true just because like there's been so many Star Wars projects, especially in the movies, that have fallen through. Like that they've announced and then like...
You think it was just maybe something else happened?
I kind of think so, yeah. I don't think it necessarily had to do with Game of Thrones. Just
it makes me feel good that might have been what happened. Like little karma.
Dude, I can't name them all, but there's been probably like 4 or 5 Star Wars projects announced that never seen the light of day.
Oh boy, okay. I mean, but there's so many projects. It makes sense that some wouldn't, get made. Because I mean, they got like how many shows right now? 4 or 5?
Yeah, yeah, and I think these are all like I remember they announced like a squadron fighter movie. that was supposed to be directed by Patty Jenkins, and that fell through.
Oh, that's too bad.
And there's been, there was others too, several others.
I see what you're saying, because like with Star Wars, you have a lot of opportunity, to build out from that whole like the whole galaxy, the whole universe. There's a lot of opportunity to like put everything like together with a story where these people from this planet, these people from this planet, all kind of working towards a common goal. Yeah, I could definitely. I'm about to start The Mandalorian pretty soon. Like I've been talking about it, just been dragging my feet because I've been doing other stuff. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching The Mandalorian after watching Ahsoka.
Yeah, and I think the rumor with the project Benioff and Weiss were working on was that it was going to be like, take place like hundreds of years or something before even the prequel. So it would be like a totally different time period never explored, which I like, because then you get, a brand new cast of characters, and, anything can happen, and you're not really tied to anything else that's ever happened in Star Wars continuity. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, for whatever reason, there's been a lot of Star Wars movies they've announced that just, I don't know why, but they just go nowhere.
Oh, man.
But I guess it's luckily TV has rised up in the ranks.
Yeah, luckily there's a lot of opportunity for that on Disney+. I also watched Elementals just recently, like a couple days ago.
Oh, the Pixar movie?
Yeah.
I've actually been wanting to watch that. How is that?
It's good. I liked it. It was it was fun. It's like a kind of like the immigrant story mixed into like, people melding together and, different elements, meeting each other.
Right. Yeah, like the metaphors, like these water and fire elements that, shouldn't be able to get together or whatever, mix or whatever.
Yeah, and there's like an Ellis Island kind of thing, like where these immigrants are like, this first flight of immigrants came to this land, and then the second flight of immigrants, then like the third, and essentially this new group of immigrants are here, and they're dealing with their own kind of issues with the mixing in and acclimating themselves to the environment. So it's fascinating. It's fun to watch, and it's just full of heart. I felt like this movie was.
Man, I gotta say, like, there's a lot of Pixar movies I have not watched. At some point, I probably really should go and watch them, because they do tend to make quality stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is. I just like, whenever I'm in a mood for a movie, I very rarely feel like watching an animated movie, but I really should like get over it. I don't know.
I mean, I'm always pleasantly surprised when I watch a Pixar movie. I always go into it like, it's just some animated movie or whatever. But then there's always a little bit of depth to those movies too, Like, they do kind of make you feel something.
Yeah, they were really the first studio that was like, we know kids are going to like this because it's a cartoon. So we'll throw stuff in for the adults, like, themes like that,
Yeah.
And I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Out of all the Pixar movies you've watched, what do you think are like your favorites?
Oh boy, that's a tough question, man. Favorites? Toy Story is always a good one.
Man, I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah. I just recently watched that Buzz Lightyear movie. I liked that a lot.
I heard a lot of people didn't like that, but you thought it was okay?
It was fun, yeah.
Nice.
And right now, I'm the newest recency bias, but I thought Elementals had a good message, good story. I thought it was good.
I definitely liked the first Incredibles movie quite a bit.
Oh, right. Yeah, Incredibles was fun too.
And then I like Inside Out quite a bit.
I never saw Inside Out.
You should watch that one too. It's good.
Okay.
I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah. I've heard good things about Inside Out. It's where all the emotions are like regulating somebody's body, and they're kind of.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it gives you like, it's a story about this like little girl who has to move to a different city, and basically you see all the emotions in her head and like their interactions and stuff.
Okay.
But it's entertaining, and it's also pretty heartfelt at times. I thought it was definitely one of the better Pixar movies that I've seen.
Okay. Yeah.
So a little backstory. So like we've talked about how we kind of want to get it set up to do remote podcasts. So like when we do review stuff, we can get the reviews out a little more timely fashion. So like I reviewed like all the different like or looked at reviews of like all the different like remote podcasting services. And like it seems at the time like the highest rated one is this one called Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to like pay for it, like for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because my bank is stupid or whatever, but they're like, "Oh, we can't accept your debit card. You'll have to get a credit card."
That is so strange.
I thought so too, but
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. Apparently, like their like bank or whatever is in the Netherlands because that's where the company originated, and like for some reason, like my card wouldn't work. But at the same time, like I've had times purchasing things before where like it would have been handy having a credit card.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was like, okay, I'll just apply for a credit card and get one.
And having a credit card is useful in the sense that if you ever like lose your card or like you somebody gets your information and starts charging it, like you can always get that money back as opposed to like maybe you'd have issues with your debit card.
Right. But I've never checked on my credit score. It's nothing I've really been concerned with just because like I don't really at the moment have a need to borrow money, and also like I don't know if I'll ever be able to buy a house or whatever, to, something to where it would come in handy. But I was like, I've borrowed money once in my life, which was student loans, and I paid them back, and I actually paid them back early. But then, like, I mean, that was forever ago, and I haven't like borrowed money since. So, like, I was like, I have no idea like what they'll approve me for.
Right.
And they approved me for a card with a maximum limit of $200. I was like, holy cow! Like, that's all you trust me with is $200.
That's very surprising.
What if I actually had bad credit instead of like almost zero credit?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, will they give somebody a credit card where you get like a $20 limit?
But what's surprising is that means you're fiscally responsible, but like there are plenty of people who are irresponsible and have like $30,000-$40,000 limits on their credit card.
I know.
It just doesn't make sense how they decide that.
So I'm like, you know what? It'll probably pay off in the long run just to get this credit card and start using it, start building up my credit score a little bit,
Yeah, I will.
It's kind of a pain, but, I figure in the long run.
Just like put your subscriptions on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't put much on it to begin with.
Yeah, right.
Well, AJ, maybe we'll do a story or two before we get into Ahsoka.
Sure. Let me see if I have any.
So I found an article about like really bad roommate experiences. So these are quotes mostly from people who are telling the story. I think maybe one or two have like quotes of like what the bad roommate like told them or whatever, but I figured we'd go through these and see. So this is number one. My first college roommate hated doing laundry, so he wore my underwear.
Oh, no.
Without asking when his were dirty. It never felt like my underwear again after he'd been in it. Now, who would actually use those underwear like again?
Yeah, no,
I would be like, okay, you can never do that again, and you own those underwear now.
Well, but what if he's doing with like every pair? What if like every day he's just putting on a new one of your underwear?
I mean,
what are you going to do? Keep buying new underwear?
I mean, I think I would just have to find a new roommate.
Oh, yeah, well, sure.
But, of course, what sucks is, like, depending on your monetary situation, though, that might not be completely feasible,
Yeah, it takes time to kick somebody out, too, like to replace them, yeah.
Or find a new place if you want to be the person that...
Right.
Yeah. But can you imagine, though, like, being gross enough that you put on somebody else's underwear?
That is bold, like in many ways. Like, germs wise, like, actually putting on someone else's underwear, like going through that, getting all this stuff for how long has been marinating in that underwear and putting it on yourself. That's disgusting. But then also just the social constructs that we have in society that would make it awkward for you to even do that. Like, it's so weird that somebody would be like, okay, the consequences of this action they're okay. I can put on this person's underwear. That's fine. I can deal with the consequences. Like, I would be so ashamed and embarrassed.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh. And then when you actually have to face the consequences, when your roommate's like, "Are you wearing my underwear?" I'd be like, he knows. Like, there's too many things. Like,
Maybe they had similar looking underwear, and the guy's like, he'll never find out.
maybe.
I don't know. That's a bold move, man.
It is, yeah.
And also, I think there's a stat that says, like, on average, guys, like, keep their underwear for, like, 7 years
Oh, okay.
before, like, get new ones.
My underwear is usually, if I get new ones, it's because my old ones are falling apart.
Mine, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I'll wear these until they're friggin' holy rollers, you know?
Right.
Man,
Swiss cheese underwear.
I swear, like, my dad at times would keep underwear until they were basically just like the waistband. These are so bad.
Just straps on the waist. Good to go.
My mom would do his laundry, and I'm just like, holy cow, you need to buy more. Okay, here's number 2. I had a roommate in college who used to play Bittersweet Symphony on repeat all day, every day, from the minute I moved in to even after I moved out. Oh. I moved down the hall to another kid's room because this is just one of the super weird things he used to do, and I still used to hear it constantly playing whenever I'd walk by. I really used to like that song too, but it's a ruin for me now. That sounds like someone with OCD to me.
Yeah, either OCD or some sort of like impulse, like to have comfort. Like it's like a comfort song or something.
Right.
But yeah, that sounds like some sort of out of normal mentality.
I mean, I get that, like, sometimes when you first, like, discover a song that you, like, really love,
play it a lot.
You'll play it a lot.
Yeah.
But to do it that much, that sounds like an OCD type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and Bittersweet Symphony's been around for like 25 years now.
Yeah. Number 3, I had a roommate who absolutely refused to buy toilet paper.
Oh, no.
After weeks of her stealing ours, the 3 of us started hiding it so she would be forced to buy her own. Instead, she started taking heaps of napkins from restaurants and stealing rolls of our paper towels. One night, we all went out to dinner, came home, and the entire basement was flooded because she backed up the toilet with God only knows how much crap that shouldn't ever be flushed. My thing is, paper towels are so rough. I can't imagine actually like wiping with one.
I mean, it's known that a lot of those other napkins and stuff, they won't biodegrade. Like, they won't break down or anything in the water fast enough for it to flush. That is a bold move. Even those wet wipes, like that say they're flushable, aren't really flushable. Like, they cause a lot of problems with plumbing. So I mean,
oh, right.
Yes, I mean, this is a close your eyes and just hope for the best situation for this person. But also, when you first mentioned it, I thought they just didn't use toilet paper. But but I was glad they were at least stealing it and using it.
Yet another reason to get a bidet.
Yeah,
because that would have at least
helped out.
Yeah, at least then, like, you know, she would have been able to wash her ass with the bidet and then maybe just dry off with the paper towel, which would have been more acceptable.
I mean, look, toilet paper is good, but you should also, like, clean yourself, you know, like, get in there, clean yourself right. You know, when you take a shower, folks, get in there.
Yeah, I swear, like, getting a bidet was such a revelation.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't I grow up with one of these? Why aren't they everywhere? It's just insane not to use one.
Right. The Japanese did a favor to the world with that. I think the Japanese came up with that one, right?
I don't know if they came up with it, but they certainly, like, I know they're famous for having, like, like, I think all their public toilets and stuff have them and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Let's see. Okay, this one's done as a quote from, like, the person who did the offending. Hey, I've been shutting off the Wi-Fi because it turns out it's really bad for you. Sorry about the inconvenience. Was trying to only do it after you fell asleep. There's info on the web about how it causes cancer, infertility, headaches, and disrupts cell repair while you sleep.
Okay, I know someone who's just like that.
Is it your sister?
It is. Yes, she would definitely say that. We put the Wi-Fi in the garage because, like, we can't even have it inside the house. So yeah, it's on the very bottom basement floor.
I mean, if it's still getting to your devices, though.
Yeah, it still works.
But I mean, it's still getting to you at some level, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there is some warning on those devices that says it shouldn't be like you shouldn't be like 7 inches
Oh, like
away
super
from it, like
duper
really close. So I guess the thinking is that the further it is, the better. But it just seems silly to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where like there's certain things that I'm like I know these are bad for you. I know they cause cancer in some people, but like I can't imagine living without them. So it's just like you have to take risks at some
Right.
point with the things that are in your house, things you eat, things.
Right.
Next one. I had a roommate who would attempt to leave unjustified, scathing, passive-aggressive notes for just everyone. Our apartment's neighbors, the wonder of cars parked outside, and even our landlady. The kind of notes with overly polite language, underlines, and randomly capitalized words. Always written in red marker, always rude enough to get the crap beaten out of her. Always signed from both of us. I spent that year following her around and removing notes as quickly and quietly as possible.
She got the crap beaten out of her, or was that just like saying she could get the crap beaten out of her?
I think that's what they're saying. Like they
Okay.
were.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. It's because it was both like, oh, they use polite language, but were written in a way that could get the crap beaten out of you. So I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. Next one. First year of college, my friend's roommate came stumbling into their dorm room one night. It was blatantly obvious that she was drunk beyond reason. She started shouting, "I need to go to the bathroom," which woke up my friend. She saw her roommate staggering back and forth through the doorway, but stayed in bed because she really didn't know how to react. Before the roommate left to go to the party, she'd placed her white Mac laptop on her chair by her desk. So what we think happened was that the white from the laptop on the seat made the chair look like a toilet in the mind of the drunk roommate. She approached the chair, pulled down her pants, and sat on her laptop. There was only one way this could go. Although her laptop was covered in pee and poop, she denied that this ever happened.
Oh my!
I mean, I don't know if you can deny it at that point.
Yeah. Oh, she got to pay for that. That's ugh. She pee and poop on her own laptop, on her friend's
No,
laptop?
her friend's
Yeah,
roommate's
she's gotta
laptop.
pay for that. Yeah. It's brutal.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely be. I'd be like, you're paying the rent for the next however long this takes to get me a new laptop.
Yeah.
Next one. A meme was posted with a container full of dirty utensils, mainly spatulas, that were clearly not clean. The meme read, "My roommate thinks these spatulas are clean and still uses them."
Oh.
I mean, it's not as bad as pee and poop on your laptop.
Yeah, it depends about what they're dirty with. Pee and poop?
A few of these I pre-read and they're not that interesting, so I'm just trying to sort out which. Okay. My old roommate, he was technically the homeowner, but lived in a shack in the backyard, would come into my room early in the morning and watch me sleep. I was a bartender at the time, so I would get home about an hour or so before he would be leaving for work. I was always thoroughly passed out when he'd leave, and I'm a heavy sleeper, so I did not notice this was happening for months, until a guy I was seeing stayed up and caught him opening my door. There was also a second door to my room that I could not open. It was locked from the other side. I don't know what was going on there, but I'm fairly certain he was spying on me from that room as well. I mean, that's not even a roommate situation. That's just a peeping Tom situation.
Yeah, he lived in the shed?
Yeah, apparently he was a landlord, but he lived in like some small like living space in the backyard.
Okay. Interesting.
Next one. I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell people I said it was okay to smoke in the house when I never said that. You said in the group message a long time ago, I asked if smoking inside was cool and you said no, only in your room. Find the text and I'll take it back. I can't because I deleted my messages every so often to conserve storage. Damn, that sucks. Don't smoke in my house. I mean, I don't know. That was kind of lame.
Yeah.
We had a ton of food missing, and we all knew who it was. But my best bud, the landlord, discreetly set up a webcam in the kitchen. With a couple days, we caught the guy eating a stick of butter straight from the wrapper, and then he went in the pantry, grabbed a bag of sugar, and just started chugging it like he was making cookies in his mouth.
What?
I mean, I can't even imagine. That would be so gross. Just put a stick of butter in your mouth and then a bunch of sugar.
It's got to be some sort of drugs he was on.
You think so?
I mean, yeah.
This sounds, you know how we covered like the woman that eats mattresses and stuff?
Yeah.
This seems like almost a weird compulsion like that.
Could be. Or it's just a really hungry dude. I don't know.
He's just like really stoned. And
Yeah.
like, I'll munch anything.
I'll eat cookies. I'll make them in my body. Terrible.
This one's a quick one. I asked her to stop popping her pimples and sticking the pus on the mirror 3 times already. This is just
no.
embarrassing for her now. I mean, that's definitely something.
Oh, popping her pimples and putting the pus on the mirror. I don't understand the thinking of people sometimes, man. Some people just...
Now, I wonder if she was intentionally, like, popping it and then rubbing it. It makes it sound like she was popping it and then rubbing it on the mirror. I wonder if maybe she was just, like, popping them and they were so explosive that they were exploding onto the mirror. And then she was maybe just too lazy to clean it.
That's more understandable, at least.
Yeah, that would be... But I don't know. Maybe it's the other way around, too. I don't know.
Giving the benefit of the doubt here. I don't know.
Next one. Quote, she had this cup full of liquid by her bed. There's no better way to describe it, really. She kept her toothbrush in it, bristles down in the liquid. And when it came to brushing time, she basically just take the toothbrush out, brush her teeth, spit in the cup, and shove her toothbrush back into her cup.
That makes me want to gag a little.
I mean, it doesn't say, like, I wonder if she actually used toothpaste or if she's just, like, brushing her teeth with, like, moldy water.
Spit water.
Spit water, yeah, backwash.
Oh boy, okay.
My roommate thought they could clean the shower by leaving it running with super hot water and closing the door. They turned the water on and merrily left for work. It was my day off, and I realized something was amiss when I realized how many hours the water had been running. I knocked, but there was no answer. I panicked and tried to open the door, but it was locked. So naturally, I thought one of my roommates had locked themselves in there and, I don't know, died or something. I went completely hysterical and called the housing office so they could break down the door. Turns out the wood had swelled so much from all the moisture, they had to pry the door open. There was no one in there. After that, I was just confused until the roommate in question got home and explained. I mean, that's just stupid. I mean,
No.
In fact, I think like some places will warn you, like, if you take a shower to leave the fan going, just because it can cause like mold or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's why all these bathrooms have those fans.
Yeah. In college, my roommate pretended he had a girlfriend who lived in England. We're in the U.S.
Oh, not Canada? Okay. Has to be even further, so there's no chance that people will ask you to meet her.
Right. He used to talk to her on the phone and everything while we were both in my dorm. My roommate was Facebook friends with her, of course, and a few of her friends whom he had met while visiting her. He used to talk about how much he missed her, especially having sex with her.
Oh God!
After I moved,
gentleman.
after I moved, I found out she never existed. Fake profile, fake names, fake pics. He was talking to no one except himself on the phone. I have no idea why he'd go to such lengths for this lie, but I felt really weird about the whole thing once I found out.
Yeah, that is super weird, man. Yeah, I'm surprised by how much that person cares what other people think, apparently. Or maybe it's just a lie he tells himself. I don't know.
Did you know anybody like in school that tried to do like the, I have a girlfriend in another city type of thing?
I had a friend who was like that. Like, he'd be like, I'm talking to this many girls and this and that. I'd be like, man, I never see you do any of that stuff. It's all lies. Oh, I'm in love, blah, blah. No, you're not in love, man. You don't know anybody.
I didn't have any close friends that did that. I can't remember. Maybe there was some weird kid that tried the old Canada girlfriend trick. I don't know. I'm sure every school has some kid that tried
for sure, yeah. I feel like every friend group at some point has that guy who's like, oh, I'm talking to somebody, and they're not.
All right. Did you have a story you want to do, or you just want to get into Ahsoka?
Let's see. I have some like bullet points on some of these stories. Let's see here. Oh, this one was interesting to me. A man lived 82 years, died without ever seeing a woman in his entire life. Mihailo Tolotos was orphaned after his mother passed away shortly after his birth. He was born in 1856 and adopted by Orthodox monks at Mount Athos in Greece. Women were not allowed there for hundreds of years and still are not. And he passed away in 1938, seemingly never interested in seeing a woman. Didn't even care to see one.
I mean, maybe he was gay and this was just a paradise. Like, men only, hell yeah.
This is the way to go. I don't know. Women, I don't know. I don't know interest in that. I mean, not even a statue of a woman? Not even a drawing? A stick figure with boobs?
It does make you wonder, though, like, even if you're straight, like, if you've never, ever seen a woman ever, do you think like your sex drive would develop in the same way? Would puberty happen in the same way, do you think?
I think there would be some I think that you'd probably go through puberty, but you'd have some strange sexual encounters, like people banging animals sort of thing. Like I think people develop those kinds of relationships when they don't have the opposite sex.
You would kind of think he would have a stirring one way or the other. Unless he was just like asexual from this experience.
Yeah, I don't think so. If he was from Greece, they were, they're known for dudes banging dudes.
That's true.
I mean, he's not an ancient Greek, but still, I don't know. Like, if he's on an island with a bunch of dudes, and you know how it is, like, it doesn't matter what the deal is. Like, people are gonna have their urges. So I'm sure the fellows were getting it on.
It just makes you wonder, though, like chicken and the egg type of thing. Like when we were little kids and we first started noticing women, like did that like strike something in us, or was it always going to be that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's hard to say. I don't know.
It's interesting. Like this guy is like a really odd case study.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know, like just like you said, did this guy like go after animals? Did he ever have any sort of sexual feelings at all?
I mean, that's hard to say now. I think they would have, though. I think because you go through puberty no matter what, right? Like you have to develop and become an adult. So.
Yeah, I would think you would still go through puberty. I just wonder if like maybe being in a closed off environment like that, if maybe you'd be more likely to come out like in asexual or something.
I think they would just redirect their sexual urges somewhere else.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always often wondered, like, what percentage of the population is asexual. I think it's pretty low.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever met anybody who's identified as asexual.
I've only, heard of them, read about them.
Yeah.
Seen them on TV or something.
All right, AJ, should we get into Ahsoka Episode 5?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. And once again, I'll just note, you might be like, yeah, this is a bit of a late review. It is, but unlike a lot of places, we're going to give you an in-depth, scene-by-scene review. Actually, AJ, before we do that, overall, I think we've said, we feel like maybe a 7 out of 10 range for this show.
Yeah.
After seeing this episode, are you still feeling high on it?
Yeah, I am. I think seeing some backstory of where she's coming from and how she grew up and what her mentality was and how it's changed, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I think as we'll get into there's a lot of dialogue in this episode, and a lot of times some of it I think is kind of throwaway to where, but it's uneven, I would say. But I'm still overall liking the show, and I think visually, the show still looks pretty good. I think
it does. Yeah.
Although, actually, there's one thing I was curious about, and we'll get in. Well, so as we found out in the end of the last episode, like, kind of a ghost of Anakin shows up, right? Or a vision
Like
of
a
Anakin.
Force ghost or something.
Yeah. And during this episode, it has two different versions of him. The one she meets first, which is kind of a younger version, and then later on in the episode, a version of him a little bit older.
Right.
And I thought CG wise, like the younger one looked where you could tell a little bit of
Yeah.
the CG-ness. But then I thought when they got to the other one, I was like, oh, this one looks way better for some reason.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if maybe they were using more of actually Hayden Christensen or something. I think that he was still like CG to a certain extent, right? But I don't know. I just thought that other model of him looked better for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. Like, I did notice at the beginning, like when they first
Right.
showed him, and then after that, I didn't really notice any issues with him. So I think they must have fixed it. I didn't really pick up on it.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started on the plot. So we start out with a scene between Hera and her lead pilot, Carson. Hera tells Carson to do a sweep of the planet. They're on Cetos. After she discovers nobody around like that Stonehenge area. And I guess their sensors aren't really picking up anybody. Jason...
Is it strange to you that, like, whenever they visit a planet, they know the exact spot to land on? Like, these are planets. if you went to Earth and you were like, all right, let's go get to that location on Earth, like, what? How?
It is something I notice on a lot of these like sci-fi shows like Star Wars that, yeah, you just kind of have to accept that, oh, they picked up something with their instruments and it leads them to this. But the other funny thing is that Star Wars specifically is famous for having like, oh, this is an ice planet. This is a desert planet. This is a forest planet. And it's not like, you know, apparently nothing's like Earth where you get a mix of a little bit of everything.
Right.
It's all like one thing, each planet. Like this is its planet's gimmick. Like Hoth is an ice planet, you know. And you know, this one's a forest, and you know, it's so that's a bit silly too. Like Tatooine, oh, it's a desert planet, you know.
Right.
And also, like, if you have a choice to actually like live where you want to in Star Wars, and maybe some people do and some people don't, I'm not picking the desert planet.
Nope. Or the ice planet.
Yeah, maybe I'll go to the forest planet. I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure. Yeah.
Give me one of those good-looking planets. Like, well, Cetos looks fine.
Yeah, Cetos seems all right. A lot of water, I guess.
A lot of trees, and you know. But Jason asked Hera if he can come out of the spaceship, and she agrees as long as he doesn't go too far and take Chopper with him. You know, we mentioned in that one episode that, you know, she's kind of a bad mother for even letting Jason come on this trip.
Yeah.
For a while, I thought she was just going to let him go, like,
Go do what you want. Yeah.
go walk through the woods. Just don't go too far, even though there might be murderers here.
So, like, I guess she brought Jason because he's force sensitive. I'm gonna try to reason it.
I mean, he is force sensitive. But
Still don't think you bring a kid.
At the same time, she thought she was going to meet up with Ahsoka, who is much more force sensitive. So I don't even know if that's a good excuse. But maybe you could say, yeah, maybe she thought she was going to have trouble finding Ahsoka, and so she thought bringing Jason along would help.
Yeah.
But still, I think most mothers would be like, no, I'm going to a really dangerous spot. I'm not going to bring my small son.
Yeah, I would think so too.
But it ends up not mattering because him and Chopper just stay around the Stonehenge place. Hera hears a noise, which ends up being Hu Yang holding Sabine's helmet and saying how he told them to stay together. They keep bringing back that thing. Oh, stay together, stay together. That's one piece of dialogue that I thought even in that other episode and this one, they're like, I don't know. It's just a weird thing for him to keep like harping on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was weird. Like it's such a basic thing. Oh, stick together.
Yeah, it's not like a profound advice or anything.
Not at all. And it's not like a thing where like Ahsoka and Sabine were like had a bunch of animosity towards each other where like, you know, he should have thought like, oh, there's a problem here. I better tell them to stay together because they hate each other. It wasn't like that. You know? So I don't know. It's weird, a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in the I think they call it like the space between worlds or something.
Yeah.
Where Ahsoka tells Anakin that he looks the same, and he says she looks old. You know, I gotta say, like, thinking back on that Rebels episode I saw, and now this, now I'm very unsure about this space between worlds, and if they can actually like travel long distances, or if it just like gives them like a vision of like important parts of their past. I'm really confused by it.
They can't like time travel through there. Like they can't. I know that they can't go to like other time periods because like that'll destroy everything or something. That'll like ruin somehow it would like destroy the universe or something. I'm not sure what it is. But like when Ezra pulled Ahsoka through that portal that one time, it was okay.
Yeah, and I thought that was somewhat like time related because I thought that her fight with Darth Vader happened. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought it happened before he like pulled her out or whatever. So that And the other thing, if you watch that episode, like eventually the Emperor, who's still alive at that time, he opens a portal.
Oh right, he tries to come through.
And he shoots a fireball like at them. So that's why I was thinking that these have to be connected, like physical place to physical place in some way, right? If he can do that,
yeah, you would think so.
I found it very confusing.
Yeah.
I guess this place just kind of does what it needs needs him to do. But yeah, anyway, they have this dialogue. Ahsoka tells Anakin that he looks the same, and he says she looks old. Ahsoka asks him what happened, and he says she lost a fight, which causes her to remember, oh yeah, I fought Balin, and he kicked my ass. Anakin says it's good that she remembers because it means she still has a chance to live. So, like, we're meant to believe she's, like, hanging on a thread as far as her life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin says he's there to finish her training. Ahsoka says it's a little late for that, but he says you're never too old to learn new tricks. She asks what the lesson is, and he ignites his saber and says to live or die. Ahsoka says she won't fight him, but then he advances towards her and she instantly starts fighting him and they start clashing with
He says,
sabers.
like, I've heard that before, which is a reference to, like, Luke not fighting him, I guess.
Yeah, you're probably right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they begin to fight. So now we go back to Cetos. Hu Yang tells Hera that the map is broken beyond repair. Hu Yang surmises that since they haven't found Ahsoka or Sabine, that they might have been aboard Morgan's ship. Carson shows up. He tells Hera that if they don't go back to headquarters soon, that people will start to ask questions. But Hera doesn't want to go without finding anybody. Jason interrupts to say he can sense something in the water. But Hera says if there was something out there, Chopper would have picked it up. Hera then tells Carson that she will use her rank as a general to cover for them, you know, if the higher-ups do start asking questions. So Jason tells Hera that he can hear lightsabers clashing in the waves of the ocean. And when Hera concentrates, she can hear them too. What did you think about this?
I get why he could hear it. He's force sensitive, but I don't know why she could hear it.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way because it's like, that's why I think like the Force, like it does kind of do whatever they want it to do. Because you're right, like she's not Force sensitive. You wouldn't think she would necessarily be able to hear it at all.
Right.
So I think I would have liked it better if, like, you know, he says he hears it, and like maybe Carson's like, man, I'm sorry, but your kid's hearing things.
Yeah.
And then she's maybe like, you know, I'm going to go out on I trust him, so I'm going to go out on a limb and like trust his instincts and like search more or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. And then Hu Yang could still say the whole Jedi line, like, you know, oh, the kid is force sensitive or whatever.
Right.
And then, yeah, it makes sense.
I thought maybe something like that would work better. And also, like, I wonder if we'll ever get a background on this planet, because this planet definitely seems like I don't know, might have a Jedi temple on it somewhere. Just the fact that she falls in this mystical water and it actually goes to this, you know. There's
Well-
definitely something mystical about this planet.
Yeah, already like the witches, live there, so there's got to be some sort of like spiritual something about it. Like,
That is a good point. I forgot about the witches thing because that does seem like where maybe Morgan and her sister witches
Yeah.
so maybe that has something to do with it.
yeah,
It's one of those things I kind of wish they would explain a little more.
right. I'm sure there'll be some comics about it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can fill stuff in with comic books. So Hera tells Carson to get a squadron in the air and do a close sweep of the ocean. She tells Hu Yang to come aboard her ship. I wrote, she abandons Jason on land with Chopper. Which, here's the thing, like, I know they did a plan. I mean, I guess they did a scan of the planet and didn't see any life forms, but do the scans, I wonder, pick up, like, possible droids? Because there was that one enemy droid in the last episode or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's mystical witches and stuff, too. It just seems like it maybe would be dangerous to leave him on the planet.
Even just like poisonous gases in certain areas. Who knows? Like, you never know what could be out there.
Or animals, possibly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, okay, I know Chopper, like, has this little, like, taser thing, but how much can he actually help defend Jason if there's big trouble?
I don't know about that. Don't knock Chopper.
All of a sudden, like, this, like, huge, like, arsenal comes out of his, like...
He's got like 8
trash.
lightsabers.
Yeah. That would actually be pretty funny. Okay, so now we're back in the space with Ahsoka. Ahsoka wins the lightsaber duel, but then Anakin says he hasn't taught her everything yet, and he shatters the platform she's on, causing her to fall down onto a rocky surface where stormtroopers run past her out of a thick fog. She is now inhabiting her younger self during the Clone Wars. I thought this was like kind of an interesting way to go.
Yeah.
And it ties together. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the Clone Wars cartoons, but it ties in nicely with that. Like, there's several episodes of that series where it's like him and her, on a planet with an army of troops,
Oh, okay.
like doing.
So they have that whole storyline. Okay.
Yeah. They have a lot of different battles and stuff on that show.
So like the whole Clone Wars thing, like were they good guys at that time, or were they like working for the Empire?
They were good guys at that time.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, like during the prequel time, like, the Republic is in full force, and like there's a ton of Jedi that like kind of work as like peacekeepers and stuff. But then there ends up being these like separatists, and basically there's a lot of fights with like different separatist units and stuff, and that's what these Clone Wars are. But then Palpatine, he's like a senator, but secretly nobody knows it, but he's actually like trying to form the Empire, and he's the one corrupting Anakin, turning him evil basically. But then at the end of the episode 3, they give Order 66, and I believe this is I might be misremembering, but I think this is established in an episode of Clone Wars. Is all the clone stormtroopers have this chip embedded into them to where basically once that order is called, they're just mind controlled and they flip and do the bidding, and so they at that point wipe out like the vast majority of the Jedi. A few escape,
Okay.
So Ahsoka relives seeing a bunch of wounded stormtroopers. Ahsoka remembers the guilt of her orders getting soldiers killed. She hates the idea of having to teach a Padawan to fight, and asks Anakin what if she wants to stop fighting one day, to which he replies, "Then you'll die." So like you can kind of get this sense that she's tired of fighting basically.
Yeah.
She's been fighting all of her life, and she kind of sees this senselessness of war and all the fighting and death. But Anakin, who helped train her, you can see didn't feel that way.
Right.
As Ahsoka watches Anakin go off to fight some more, she sees flashes of him turning into Vader, which I thought was a nice effect. You'll see smoke and then like a light, and really quickly he'll change back and forth his silhouette. Carson tells Hera he isn't finding anything, and she commands him to widen his search. Hera tells Hu Yang that she came to help against orders. Hu Yang says Hera tries to help, and that's why people like her. Again, this dialogue I just felt was kind of generic in spots, Hu Yang mentions Anakin, and Hera asks what he was like. Hu Yang replies that he was intense. Jason calls Hera and tells her that Chopper found something, but they'll have to go as low as they can to the ocean surface. Back with Ahsoka, Ahsoka flashes back to the siege of Mandalore. Anakin doesn't recognize this place because they were not on that mission together. He was somewhere else at the time. Anakin says she did a good job of leading the men there, and that she is part of his legacy. She says that part of his legacy is one of death and war. And he says she's more than that because he's more than that. She says he is more, but more powerful and dangerous than anyone realized. Which, this dialogue to me was okay, but to anybody who's familiar with the basics of the Star Wars story, there's nothing that's a big revelation in there. They're just kind of stating the obvious.
Yeah.
Anakin tells her she learned nothing, and it's time to go back to the beginning. He tells her he gave her a choice, live or die, and then lights up his saber, which is now a red saber, right, indicating the dark side, And also his character model switches back from the better one to the less good one.
I didn't pick up on that, but okay.
It does in that moment, in that scene. Ahsoka says no, and they begin to fight again. Anakin kicks little girl Ahsoka into the fog, and she lands as adult Ahsoka back on the original plane where they had started. Anakin pursues her, quickly flashing to the form of Vader again, so they kind of do that visual again. And they continue to fight. Ahsoka ends up taking Anakin's saber from him, but throws it away instead of killing him. She tells him she chooses to live. Anakin smiles and says there's hope for her yet, before disappearing. Ahsoka then she sinks into some mystical looking water.
Yeah.
It almost looks like, it flips her from wherever she is back into the real world.
I thought her eyes flashed red when she was at the end of that fight with Anakin.
Oh, did they?
I thought so, yeah.
They could have. I don't recall. So yeah, she sinks into some water, and then she is found and fished out by Hera's people, on the other side. Ahsoka wakes up and is greeted by Hu Yang, who tells her all about Jason and Hera being there. He tells her about Sabine and shows her the broken map. Hera asks Ahsoka where Sabine is. She thinks she may have left a physical impression on the map when she was holding it. So Ahsoka uses the Force to see what happened. Again, I'm curious if in any other Star Wars stuff, if anybody used the Force to this extent to accurately see what happened in the past.
Yeah, this is wild.
I mean, really, Jedi should be detectives if they can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, they should do pretty much everything. They should run the freaking universe if they can figure out everything that's ever happened.
I mean, I thought that was a pretty powerful thing if she can do that.
Yeah. She's done it twice now, huh?
Did she do that move before?
I thought she did it earlier too, in maybe episode 1 or 2, where those that droid. What was it? When she went into Sabine's house, I thought there was a moment where she retraced the steps or something. I'm not sure.
She might have. I remember there was a whole thing where, like...
I feel like it's happened before. I'm not sure when.
You know, I thought, going back to that scene from episode 1, instead of, like, what happened, I thought she was going to, like, use her Jedi Force to, like, communicate with Sabine's, like, cat and, like, find out what happened that way, which she probably could have.
Yeah, why not? It's a living thing. Leave an impression on it.
So Hera wants to go after Sabine, but Ahsoka says it's not that easy. Carson interrupts Hera to tell her that the fleet is coming after her for her disobedience. Ahsoka sees the Purgle in the sky, presumably giving her the idea to use them to go to Sabine. So now we get a scene with Hera. She has Mon Mothma on the holographics. And she tells her that she has not been able to get any evidence about Thrawn. So Mothma tells her that her and Ahsoka must return with the fleet. Hera says she's not sure she can agree to that, or that Ahsoka would agree to that. Mothma tells her she is going to need Ahsoka's testimony if she has any hope of hanging on to her rank as general. Which makes me think that either, like, at the end of this series, like, Ahsoka will come back in the nick of time and, like, save her rank or whatever. Or, like, that'll just be her sacrifice as she ends up, you know, having to give up her status or something.
Right. Yeah.
Ahsoka says she knows how to follow Sabine, so the fleet flies out to the Purgle. Ahsoka steps out to communicate with, like, the largest Purgle in the group. Carson tells Hera that the fleet has arrived, and she tells him he must keep them away so they don't disturb the Purgle. Carson tries to stall the fleet, who ends up threatening his rank and starts to charge a tractor beam. So this basically causes him to, like, go, okay, and tell him what's really going on. But it ends up taking long enough that it buys him the time they need. Yeah. So the large Purgle opens its mouth, and Ahsoka tells Huyang to take the ship inside. Ahsoka tells Huyang that she has no idea if the Purgle will take them to Sabine, but that going somewhere is better than going nowhere.
Right.
Hera tells the fleet captain to move out of the way of the Purgle. This is another thing I thought was kind of silly, that, like, there's so much, like, you know, open space above this planet that the Purgle are coming right at them.
Yeah.
That they have to move. I'm like, okay, this is another one of those things that happens in these shows that you're just like, okay. The odds aren't good that this would be the case, but if you say so.
Right.
Ahsoka promises Hera that she'll find Ezra and Sabine, and then the Purgle launch into hyperspace. And that's where we find ourselves at the end of the episode.
Yep.
So that being the case...
hey, do you think it's weird that we're watching a show with a guy who's dead? Like, whenever you watch a show or a movie with a person who passed away, isn't it kind of weird? Like,
it does feel weird. I remember feeling that way when I first saw The Dark Knight. And I was like, you know, I knew Heath Ledger was dead. And I'm watching his, like, you know, one of his final performances or whatever.
Yeah.
It does feel weird. It does put kind of a melancholy over it, you know?
Yeah. It feels like, to me, it feels like a static image. Like, that's there, and they're permanently, visibly always going to be there for us, like in these platforms, like these shows or whatever. But the real person is gone.
It does feel a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, when it's that soon after they die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels bizarre.
Yeah.
I do remember feeling that same thing watching The Dark Knight. I'm like, this is a great performance, but it does feel weird knowing that, like, he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of odd.
Where, like, once there's enough distance, then it doesn't feel quite that way.
Right. But this person just passed away.
Right. Yeah, I think just months ago, Ray Stevenson passed away.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he filmed this whole season and, like, it's out there on this release date, you know, it's all perfectly lined up, except he passed away. That's nuts. Just feels weird.
I do wonder, you know, what they'll do if his character survives this season, and whether they'll recast or whether they'll just write him out of the show.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, like, I'm generally okay with recasting, but I can definitely tell like people that actually work with the actor on set and are like, oh, I love this person. I feel weird about recasting them. I can
Yeah.
totally see that side of it.
Yeah, that's true too. Like with Black Panther, I didn't like the idea of him being recast, but I don't know. With this character, I guess I'm just not as like season one. It's still the very beginning. It's still the tip of the iceberg. So there's still much story maybe still to tell, depending on how long they want to keep this going. So I mean, if it's imperative to the story, I don't know. I guess I'd be okay with them replacing him as long as they're okay with it.
Yeah, it's just this character. I don't know, overall how important he's going to be to the overall story. You know, they might have to recast him if they really
Yeah,
had
that's what I was thinking.
deep
Yeah.
plans for him.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is a little bizarre. I was going to say with the Black Panther thing, like I still kind of question whether they should, because I think T'Challa, like he's such he's a good character, and he's such in the comics, like a big part of the comics, that a part of me was like they probably should have recast just because it's a waste of a character. But then I did end up liking Wakanda Forever quite a bit, so I'm open to them.
Yeah, my only fear with recasting him was like I just felt like it's hard to find somebody who could live up to that, like who could play the Black Panther character as well, and be as charismatic and stuff. There's always somebody who's out there who could do a great job, but one bad decision, you cast the wrong person, and it could just tank the whole thing.
It's dicey, but to me, it's like the whole James Bond thing, where like I think we just got to get used to like sometimes a franchise is going to have to do this, where for whatever
Yeah.
reason, whether it's death, whether it's other problems, like someone gets canceled, maybe.
Yeah.
Although I think in the situation if someone was canceled, the fan base would be like they wouldn't care as much about a recasting,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean things happen, and I think this is just something we're gonna have to get used to.
Yeah.
Man, I've heard that the actor strike, like some people think it could even go into like early next year now,
No.
and it sucks because at some point, like I feel like there's just going to be a huge drought of
Yeah.
movies and television, and it's like, what are we going to do?
It feels like it's coming. Like already, it feels like there's next few months. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of content coming out. I know Marvel's pushed back a lot of their projects.
Oh, I know one thing that now we get confirmed. Well, I guess they could change their mind again, but seemingly it's coming out around Christmas. Did you see the trailer for Aquaman 2?
Yeah, it does not look very appealing to me.
No, I mean, just like the first one, it just looks like a stupid story with just so many effects layered on top that it's just like
Oh, yeah.
visual noise. I think it's going to suck. I mean, I didn't like the first one.
CGI mess. And like Black Manta, like he's just not like the villain that I want, He's not very threatening, and I know he's become like you say, like a mustache twirling bad guy in this movie apparently, because he just wants everything to burn. But I don't know, he's a human. I know he has like powers now because of that black trident, but I would rather somebody way more powerful go up against Aquaman anyway.
Man, I saw the first movie and like I don't even remember. I think like he blames Aquaman for like his father's death or something.
I mean, I kind of get it though. His father could have been saved by Aquaman, but at the same time, they did kill a bunch of people on that sub in the first place, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah, I'm
And
pretty
then
sure he's like a bad dude.
Yeah, they were doing bad stuff. I mean, like there was no Aquaman had no, need, like he didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's not like he was a good dude and then all of a sudden, oh, Aquaman didn't save my dad, so now I'm a villain.
Yeah.
Like he was already like a
Like they
piece of
put
crap.
themselves in that position.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember if they were like thieves or what they were.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I watched that movie and I never wanted to revisit it.
Yeah. It made the most money in the DC EU, I think. $1 billion, I think.
Yeah, over $1 billion. Which at the time I was like, why? What's going on? I almost wonder, like, I'm one of those people that like, you know, I'm kind of in the middle on like Zack Snyder. Like I like a lot of his stuff, and then I think most of his stuff has one or two things in it that even when I like it, I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
That could have been edited out.
Yeah.
But then there's like the people that are just like hate him, and people that are like hardcore fans of him.
Yeah.
And I almost think that during that time, maybe like the Snyder Bros helps push Aquaman. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I have a feeling that
But that was James Wan, right?
it was, but like just the fact that it was connected.
That he was running the whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's totally off. Maybe it was just like a weird thing where they picked the right time, and there was.
I mean, Jason Momoa, he was hot stuff at the time. Maybe
That's true too. I mean, but I don't know. I watched that movie and I was like, I don't care about these characters at all. This is it's visual noise. It's just action for the sake of action.
Yeah.
And I just found it exhausting.
Yeah, it was.
By the time I was done with it, I was like, this sucks.
Did you see how little they showed Amber Heard in the trailer?
Yeah.
It was like a distant shot of her, like in the landscape somewhere. I wonder how much she's going to be in this movie.
Probably not much. But that's the other thing. Like, I haven't read a ton of Aquaman comics. Like, I think I read Jeff Johns' run. But, like, it seems like she's one of the more interesting characters, like, in his cast of, like, extended characters, like, their relationship. Mm-hmm. So, like, minimizing her, like, probably makes it less interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It depends on what new interesting characters they introduce in this movie. I don't know. Like, maybe they'll bring some new people in to make up for those other actors.
The thing that would save this movie is if she poops the waterbed.
Well, I mean, they almost poop in the water, right? You think they get out and on the land?
You know what? That's nothing. No, I've never seen that explored in Aquaman comics.
Yeah.
Or anything. But yeah, they got to be pooping in that ocean.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dude, that movie, I would love it if just like every so often, like we just saw this
like a turd floating around.
This turd, like people will be talking and it'll be just like nothing. Like they'll drop a turd out. Like they don't even acknowledge it.
Oh my gosh.
That would be a better movie than what we're going to get.
Yeah, it would.
Man, I'm just looking forward to the day when we can actually be excited to review DC movies.
Oh my gosh, man. I was pleasantly surprised with Blue Beetle. And you know what? I am kind of excited for these James Gunn projects. You know, after these, this Aquaman movie might be the last one that's like DCEU.
Yeah.
And so after that, I think we have reason to be excited. You know, I'm going to temper that a little bit just because it's DC and I want to give them, a chance to prove themselves first. But I think James Gunn has proven himself. So I have faith in him at least.
What sucks, though, is like originally, like this new Superman movie was going to start filming in January. Mm-hmm. And then it was going to come. And then, like, the stated release date is like summer of 2025, I think.
Oh, wow.
But now with this actor strike, I'm thinking, like, this thing's probably not going to come out until like 2026.
Yeah.
Like,
Man.
which, I mean, maybe not. Maybe like the studios will be like put together a plan to where they can really hit the ground running with their different projects once this thing is over. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think like I said, I think there's going to be a drought.
Oh boy.
Maybe it's actually good that they've delayed some big movies till next year, just because maybe that way we'll still get
consistent releases.
Some things to look forward to.
Yeah. Man, I know actors are working on like independent projects, so they're still working on those because the independent movie makers, whatever the production companies or whatever, they agreed to the terms that the actors and the Screenwriters Guild have made. So they when they sell these projects to these major companies, these distributors, they're gonna tell them that you have to abide by these rules as well, these agreements.
Yeah, I know. As far as promotion goes, I knew that like, yeah, some of those smaller, independent like distributors or whatever, that don't have as much money on the line. They agreed to the terms, and it allowed the stars of those movies to still promote them.
Right.
I don't know if they're actually allowed to still make stuff.
Yeah, there's still actors are still getting jobs. They're still getting roles.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe like next year will be like the biggest year for like independent cinema.
Right? Yeah, they could make the big jump and become the big guys.
Maybe because if there is a drought, maybe a lot of like independent films that would normally just go to streaming, maybe they'll actually be like, maybe we'll try a theatrical release.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd
be smart. Yeah. Try to make some room for the little guys, They can become the big guys, and then we won't have to worry about these Disney and WB and all the other guys.
Next year on the podcast, we'll be reviewing all these like artsy-fartsy films.
Hey, I think they did what was that universe movie, the multiverse movie with Lee Kwan. He won the Oscar for
Oh yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I think that was an independent movie.
I think it might have been. Yeah, I actually watched that maybe like a month or two ago. It was okay, I thought.
Okay.
Decent.
Mm-hmm.
Man, AJ, if you don't got anything else, I think that'll do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. We thank you very, very much for watching and playing along. If you will, please subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Give us likes, thumbs up, 5-star reviews, all that good stuff. If you want, you can follow me over on Twitter/X at ZachJonesLive. That's ZachJonesLive. But that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.